name is Bianca Barnes, and I'm the host of Talk About Real podcast, where we share real stories about a real God. I had the honor of being on Faith in an Ever Changing World recently, and it was such a wonderful experience. What I love about the show is how encouraging it is. And God is really doing big things through Janet and through Faith in an Ever Changing World. And I really look forward to seeing what else God has in store. So happy fourth anniversary, and God bless you.
Oh, thank you, Bianca Barnes. Yes, it's so nice to have your fellow podcasters wishing you well, but I thank you. Thank you so much, Bianca, for doing that. Welcome, everybody. Hello. And today, my guest is Raymond Harris. And Raymond is a highly successful venture capitalist, architect, executive movie producer. He was for I Can Only Imagine and many more. He's also a speaker and author. Raymond, thank you for being my guest. Thank you for taking the time to join me.
Well, I have all the time you need, and it's a blessing to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Now, Raymond has written a book called Enduring Wealth, Being Rich in This World and the Next. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have read his book and I highly recommend it. And so we're going to learn a little bit more about enduring wealth. And if you will, Raymond, just if you'll tell us what is enduring wealth.
Well, that's something I had to ponder for quite a while, and one of the reasons I wrote. I write as I process. Enduring wealth is what is useful in this world and the next. You know, our earthly wealth can be measured by assets like real estate, collectibles, cash, stocks, those kinds of things. But the most important asset are those characteristics within us, the ability to generate assets for God's kingdom. Now, we might think of wealth as successfully using God's giftedness to us, that He's given to each of us. Wealth is really using our essence to build God's kingdom on earth. And I've always said it's okay to be rich in this world if you just know what to do with it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And so, if you will, giving plus stewardship. I love all that you said about being stewards and stewardship, but investing in God's kingdom. I love that. What do we need to understand his purpose, about his purpose for us as stewards in his economy?
Thank you for that question. I had to go back and really understand what it meant when I've been taught that God owns everything. I've heard that many times. I took a Crown Financial Ministries course, and the first thing we learn is God owns everything. And so I had to really understand, what does that mean that God owns everything? Well, He owns everything in the world, and He even owns me. Secondly, God gives men and women their wealth or their ability to generate wealth. And once I understood that God owns everything and He gives us the ability to generate this wealth, we can't really be prideful that we're self-made men and women any more than people around the world that work really hard are not necessarily financially successful, but some are. And so my thought was that God gives us our wealth, and it's what we do with it is what really counts. And so my thought was, if God gives us our wealth, it's His. What are we to do with it? Do we own it? Do we spend it? Do we hoard it? Do we save it? Do we give it to others? And I think that God intended that wealth to us to be His money managers on this earth. And so wealth given to us is to be used, but it's also to be taken care of. It's not ours to own and possess, but it's ours to use. And we are the hands and feet of Christ on earth. And I think he gives men and women their wealth to be those hands and feet, to take care of his kingdom on earth and to take care of those that can't take care of themselves. I noticed in the parables that Jesus taught regarding the three stewards, you'll remember that story, those stewards were given money to steward. They were not donors, they were investors. In other words, they didn't take the money the master gave it and gave it to other people. They took the money that the master gave them and they invested it. And even the third steward that hid the money, at least he returned it to the master. And he was condemned even for that. So I think we should be looking at our stewardship as investors and not just simply as donors. But I will say this as well, that it's great to donate, particularly if you can spend my money better than I can for what you do, then I would be a fool not to give that to you. But if I can spend my money better than you can, then I would be a fool to give it to you. So I think that many times giving other people money is a very wise thing to do if they themselves are stewards and know how to use it well.
Right. And that's the key. I feel like that's
yes.
the key. Yes.
Or it's hard to find people in not-for-profits or ministry or churches that really understand that concept, that when they're entrusted money from others, that they become the stewards of that money and they need to use it well. And it doesn't mean that they are stingy or they get the best price on something. It means that they deploy it effectively to build the kingdom the way they intend, or at least what they espouse they intend to do with it.
Absolutely. Now, in your book, you talk about economic engines. I thought this was very interesting, and how they work in God's kingdoms. What is an economic engine?
Well, in my opinion, economic engine is managing your abilities, your giftedness, all your resources to become sustainable, not only financially, but in your leadership and what you accomplish. It also involves working with others to produce assets that contribute not only to your own needs, of course, but to the needs of others. It might simply be developing job skills and a career that enables you to be self-funded in whatever ministry that God has called you to. And ministry doesn't mean you're a full-time missionary. It means that you minister inside your business or your workplace, whatever you do. I think economic engines are necessary to accomplish God's purposes. I think God invented economic engines. And in business, we generate profits to support our families and our employment families. In God's economy, I think economic engines will eventually benefit the poor. And I believe that if you boil it down, we take care of our families, our employment families, our economic engine that develop the income. But what do we do with the profit at the end? Do we spend it, save it, hoard it? What do we do with it? And I think that if we want our treasures to be in heaven, Jesus is pretty clear. He says, take care of my poor and you'll store your treasures in heaven. And so I believe that these economic engines are some of the best ways to be able to take care of God's kingdom on earth. And examples in what Marydale and I have done is that we've developed economic engines helping develop a honey company in Africa that has grown very large to be the largest honey company in Central Africa, employing about 13,000 people. We've also helped start a jewelry company in China, and we've funded movies, been involved in 10 movies, and also just helped young men start things like barbershops, repair shops for cars, construction companies, smaller engines. It doesn't matter how big that engine is. Right. It's just building God's kingdom and taking care of people and employing people.
That's excellent. That's excellent. And that's one of the nuggets that I got from his book. There are so many. And so if you are in ministry or have a ministry, or an organization and needing funding, this is a book that you really need to read, because he gives experiences, his own experiences as a donor. So it just, and scriptures as well. So it just helps you to understand that process, because, and from a donor's perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. I've been a long time donor. My wife and I became donors with our first wedding gift, and we got a large wedding gift, and we were poor as church mice at the time, and we went ahead and gave that large wedding gift to the church, and that started our journey of stewardship. But as I've matured, I realized that donating is great, and there's a great reason for that. We give to those that can do the job better than we can. Right. But I really love the idea of investing in the kingdom, like the parable of the stewards. They were all investors, and you don't have to be a financial whiz to be an investor. The key, I think, is to listen to the quiet whispers of the Holy Spirit, and then be obedient to what you hear him tell you, and just develop relationships with people, and then invest in people. I always say that I cribbed this from Ross Perot, but I invest in the jockeys and let the jockeys pick the horses and what they do. And the same way, I invest in young men, and occasionally a woman, but usually young men, and let them pick what they're going to do. And so I've been successful in picking jockeys that the Holy Spirit has nudged me to get involved with.
Wow. Well, you know, the whole concept of investing in God's kingdom, you know, that in itself, and that's something maybe we don't really think about, that we're investing in God's kingdom.
Yes.
And so it just gives a whole different perspective of what that means. And and even for young men and women as well, to learn to develop their economic engines and to serve in God's kingdom. So that, stood out to me as well, in managing their abilities and gifts and resources. So, and we should all use our what God has given us to glorify him.
Yes.
And that helps build his kingdom.
He's more interested in us than what we have, and especially since he's given it to us. So he's more interested in who we are and the men and women that we become to build his kingdom. And so it doesn't really matter what you do as an occupation. You can work within his kingdom, and everyone is in full-time ministry, whether they realize it or not.
That's true. That's true. That's true. And a lot of people think, well, I don't really have a talent, you know, they don't sing or they don't act or they don't, but you do. You might be able to write a letter to someone or send a card to someone. That's ministering as well, from what I see.
Absolutely. God's interested in our essence, our whole package. I think stewardship is not, I think stewardship has been mislabeled by the church and a lot of the teaching inside church to have something to do with financial resources. And I think stewardship is using everything we are, our essence, our giftedness, our talents. You know, and in God's economy, amount of money is never an issue. The widow that went to the temple to give 2 small coins was epitomized over all other stewards for her faithfulness.
Yep.
And Jesus actually said that no one could have given more than she did. She gave it all.
That's right.
And so she is my hero. That's a dinner table I want to sit at in heaven. I want to visit with her.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
How could she have so much faith to give it all away? That was incredible.
Yeah. Enduring Wealth, Being Rich in This World and the Next by Raymond Harris, and BroadStreetPublishing.com. You can visit for that. Thank you so much, Raymond. This has been a great time of knowing more about your book. And I just appreciate you spending it with me today, and would love to have you back at a future time.
Would love to. I have all the time you need. It would be a
Okay.
pleasure. So,
Oh, wonderful. That's great. All right. Well, thank you again, Raymond, and thank you all for watching, and also the viewers on Abundant TV Network. Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from.
mm.
Bye. God bless.